According to Harvard Health, over 160 million Americans are on a diet at any given time, but only 1 in 6 people maintain that loss for at least a year. For over 30 years, I was part of the 130 million who regained everything I worked hard to lose months after losing it. Before starting from scratch to lose the 50 pounds I regained for the last time, I finally realized the only way to quit falling into the masses was to quit following all of the useless diet advice that's sold to the masses. So in this video, I'll show you how to reverse engineer your diet so you start with a winning strategy that works far beyond losing those first few pounds. But if you continue falling for the latest diet trend that everyone's raving about, you'll continue falling into the same cycle of regaining everything you worked hard to lose. But why do most people fail diet after diet? To figure this out, let's look at how most people start a diet. When the average dieter decides enough is enough, she scrolls social media or hits up Google to figure out how all of the cool kids are losing weight. Since many of these diets come with results that seem too good to be true, our hopeful dieter learns all of the strict rules, cleans out her pantry, and spends a small fortune restocking with the good foods that guarantee weight loss. Day 1 rolls around and our hopeful friend does her best to stick to the meal plan she spent the entire weekend obsessing over, while stuffing in the last few treats that she'll allow herself, at least until she reaches her goal weight. And she must have done a pretty good job since her scale is already down an entire pound the next day. As the week continues, our faithful dieter does her best to only eat diet-approved foods while shunning everything she craves. But by the end of the week, she is furious when she steps on the scale since she's still only down 1 pound. Feeling even more desperate, she diets even harder week 2, only to gain a pound, which means she's been busting her butt for 2 weeks only to end up back where she started. So she searches for another plan that's even stricter because even though this is the diet everyone's raving about, it hasn't done a thing for her. But what if I told you following all of these strict diet rules is the exact thing that's keeping you stuck? Because that's exactly what I'm telling you. Whenever you attempt to completely overhaul your life in order to lose weight as fast as possible, the only thing fast about this kind of diet is all of the weight you'll regain once that diet is no longer sustainable, which is the reason you need to meet yourself right where you are. Instead of making drastic changes, figure out small tweaks that lead to the results that you want over time, which means you'll actually have to have patience this time around. But take it from someone who has been there and done that with quick weight loss plans too many times to count. Making small tweaks to my lifestyle was the only way I've ever made it to my goal without instantly regaining everything I lost once my diet was over. But that's mostly because my diet was never over, since instead of following another trendy plan, this time I took time to establish new habits, which happen to be the habits that contribute to a long-term, sustainable fat loss plan. But how did I go from here to here while only making small tweaks to my routine? Let's start with breakfast since that's how most people start their day. But before I show you how I changed up breakfast to get my scale moving, you have to understand that there is no need for drastic measures. Once you commit to a sustainable plan where you aim to lose only 0.5 to 1.5% of your total weight each week, which is around a pound for most women, that's when consistent weight loss gets easy. Even though that seems slow, I promise you that slow and steady is how you will finally beat the never-ending battle of the bulge, which means you have to figure out how much you're eating to sustain your current weight. You can do this by tracking your food for a week to figure out your daily calorie average. Once you've got that number down, you only need to reduce each meal by 100 to 200 calories, so your total deficit adds up to around 500 calories a day. You'll also need to focus on bringing the protein up in meals, since that helps you stay fuller longer, while also helping you hold on to more muscle, which keeps your metabolism higher. And That's it. That's how easy a sustainable fat loss plan can be. Let's start by looking at the simple changes I made to breakfast that helped me achieve this kind of transformation. As a girl who loves to eat out, I'm not alone since the average American eats out 5 to 6 times per week. One of my favorite meals out was grabbing a Starbucks double smoked bacon, cheddar, and egg sandwich on the way home from dropping my kids off at school. Of course, what's Starbucks without coffee? So I added a grande cold brew with half and half, which starts my day with 579 calories with 23 grams of protein. Since starting the day with close to 600 calories clearly wasn't helping me reach my goals, I decided to make breakfast at home instead, which also saves around $5 a day. Instead of a Starbucks sandwich, I started making this Monte Cristo breakfast muffin from my high protein meal plan. To throw together this simple breakfast in less than 5 minutes, I spray a whole grain English muffin with light oil spray. Then I sprinkle on some garlic powder and toss it into the air fryer to toast. While that's toasting, I measure out 4 ounces of Boar's Head honey turkey and half an ounce of cheese. Then I top the toasted muffin with the deli meat and cheese and add it back into the toaster oven for another 2 to 3 minutes. Once it's ready, I spread on 1 ounce of raspberry jelly. While that's toasting, I whip up a low-calorie coffee shake. This one keeps me full all morning when I mix in 2 ounces of coffee chameleon cold brew, 4 ounces of water, 4 ounces of unsweetened coconut milk, plus a scoop of Equip chocolate collagen. This brings my homemade breakfast to 402 calories while more than doubling the protein at 50 grams. Making this easy swap saves me 177 calories while adding 27 grams of protein. And since I doubled the protein, the lower calorie meal will keep me fuller for longer than my meal out. But let's say you're not like me and you prefer breakfast at home. So you whip up 2 eggs cooked in butter, 2 slices of bacon, plus an English muffin. Once you add jelly and butter to your muffin, that brings you to 630 calories with 26 grams of protein. Since that's the breakfast that's keeping you at your maintenance weight, let's look at how we can easily turn this into a breakfast that helps your fat loss plan. Let's start by keeping both eggs, since eggs are filled with the nutrients you need for better health. But instead of cooking them in butter, let's just add them to the pan. I use this method where I constantly stir the eggs while alternating them on and off heat every 30 seconds so they don't stick to the pan. Or you can use light oil cooking spray instead of butter if your eggs still stick, which saves on calories. Since we also want to raise the protein, let's add 100 grams of egg whites, which helps in 2 ways. First, this adds 11 grams of protein in only 52 calories, and I personally find egg white protein to be very filling. But it also adds volume to your meal, which is a great fat loss trick since high volume foods fill your belly for longer on less calories. Since no one wakes up craving bland eggs, let's use seasoned salt and garlic powder to add flavor. You can keep the bacon if you want, but it's not as high in protein as these chicken sausage links from Applegate, so I'd personally make the swap. You can still have an English muffin, but when you switch to these light whole grain muffins, that saves 30 calories while adding 8 grams of filling fiber, which is another trick that helps fill you up. Instead of loading the muffin with butter and jelly, just use jelly, which I know doesn't taste as good, but the 100 calories you save is completely worth the sacrifice since that swap alone stacks up to 1/5 of your calorie deficit for the week. By making these simple swaps, you easily save 183 calories while adding an extra 10 grams of protein to your meal. That's just breakfast. Let's move on to lunch to show you the swaps I'd make for a filling, high-protein, low-calorie lunch. If I was eating out, I'd probably choose something like a Southwest salad from Chick-fil-A because it's a salad, so it's probably healthy. But after devouring this salad, that's when I notice my healthy choice comes in at 680 calories with 33 grams of protein, which sounds like a lot of protein at first glance, but once I do the math, this lunch only stacks up to 19% of calories from protein. Having a lunch that uses a good chunk of my daily calories but only sits at 19% protein makes it difficult to reach my 30 to 40% of calories from protein goal for the day. That's why having the ability to control the ingredients in meals I make at home makes it easier to lower calories while beefing up protein. But I'm not literally beefing up protein, since today I'm making a buffalo chicken wrap for lunch. Since it's a wrap I enjoy, plus it fits well into my macros, this is a wrap that I plan to make several times this week, which means I have to be prepared by grilling a few pounds of chicken ahead of time. That way, when it's time to make my wrap, I just need to heat it up and enjoy. To put this wrap together, I add 5 ounces of pre-grilled chicken on top of a low-calorie tortilla. Next, I drizzle on the buffalo sauce and I top with ½ ounce of cheese. I place it in my air fryer until the cheese is melted and the chicken is warm. Then I remove and add a heap of veggies before topping with sour cream. This filling wrap comes in at only 400 calories with 54 grams of protein, which means I just saved another 280 calories over my healthy salad while adding another 21 grams of filling protein. But what if you're someone who already makes wraps like this at home, but still wants to make them fit into your fat loss plan? Let's say you make a breaded chicken wrap with melted cheese, ranch dressing, and plenty of veggies. If you went the healthy route and used a whole wheat tortilla, loaded on 5 ounces of this just bare chicken breast, and added an ounce of cheese, plus an ounce of ranch dressing and veggies, this homemade wrap still comes in calorie heavy, packing in 627 calories with only 38 grams of protein. Making simple swaps like using a lower calorie tortilla, cutting the amount of cheese you use in half, swapping out ranch dressing for sour cream or low-fat Greek yogurt, or even just using a lot less of the ranch dressing, and using grilled chicken instead of breaded chicken makes enough of a difference to help you get closer to your calorie goal while giving you more protein and less calories. And if you really love breaded chicken, you still saved enough calories just by swapping out your tortilla, cutting some of the cheese, and swapping sour cream for ranch dressing. While your protein isn't as high as it is with the grilled chicken option, you still need to commit to meals that you'll actually stick to if you want to stick to your plan long term, which means eating more of what you love. So if the breaded chicken is something that you know you'll stick to, then eat the breaded chicken version while reducing calories in other ways. Then you can always make up the protein with a high protein snack later that day, which we'll talk about in a minute. First, let me show you the dinner swap I made to make sticking to my moderate calorie deficit easy. If you're anything like the old me and you believe that weight loss simply comes down to eating in a calorie deficit, so you can eat anything you crave that fits into that deficit, then you might pull through the drive-thru and grab something like this Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme, which easily fits into your calorie budget with only 540 calories. But what the old me didn't understand is that this tiny crunch wrap doesn't have the volume nor the protein to keep me full for the rest of the night. Because even though this fits into my calorie budget, it only has 15 grams of protein, which doesn't help me get anywhere close to my daily protein target, since that's only 11% of calories from protein. So even if my brain vows to eat this and only this for dinner, that's not something that my physiology agreed to, since I'll be starving and foraging through the cabinets less than an hour later. But when I make this homemade Crunchwrap Supreme, that's another story entirely. As long as I prepared ahead of time by stocking up on the ingredients and I remember to thaw the meat, this takes less time to put together than sitting in the drive-thru line that is always wrapped around the corner. To put together my version of a high-protein Crunchwrap Supreme, I start by browning the meat and then adding seasoning to turn it into taco meat. While that's cooking, I gather everything that I want to add to my crunch wrap, including a low-calorie tortilla, shredded lettuce, diced onions and tomatoes, queso, sour cream, and a few tortilla chips. While the meat simmers, I add 32 grams of queso onto the tortilla and put it into the toaster oven to warm up the cheese. Once the queso is warm, I scoop 5 ounces of lean taco meat into the shell, followed by the veggies, a few tortilla chips for crunch, plus an ounce of sour cream. This version is much more filling, coming in at 508 calories with 47 grams of protein. So even though I only saved 32 calories with my version, this kind of volume, plus an additional 32 grams of protein, keeps me fuller for much longer. When I add those 32 calories I saved to the 280 calories saved at lunch and the 183 calories saved at breakfast, that already adds up to a 495 calorie difference, which is the perfect deficit for an easy and sustainable fat loss plan. But let's say you use this lower calorie, high protein meal plan for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That only adds up to 1,310 calories with 151 grams of protein. While that is a great amount of protein, 1,300 calories is typically too low for most active women. And since you actually want to keep what you lose off this time, I'll go ahead and just assume that you're an active woman, right? Right? Don't make me come over there and drag your butt off that couch. So being an active woman, you still want to keep your calorie deficit moderate so you don't lose too much muscle while losing weight. Once you figure out the appropriate deficit that's right for you, you can go back and add a few high protein snacks or filling sides to the meals where you feel like you can use a little extra oomph, as long as you stay under your calorie budget. The good news is, since you've already spent your day filling up on high protein meals, you can have more freedom when it comes to choosing sides or snacks you love. If you follow this meal plan as laid out, you're sitting at 46% of calories from protein. Most women do best keeping their protein somewhere between 30 to 40% of their daily calories, which means if you add a Greek yogurt with lunch and have a few of these Oreo s'mores for dessert, you're still under 1,700 calories with 41% of your daily calories coming from protein. And who doesn't want gooey Oreo s'mores for dessert? But to make it to this diet promised land where you get to eat all of this filling food while getting closer to your goal week after week, you have to understand how to calculate the appropriate moderate calorie deficit. I walk you through exactly how to do that in this video. Be sure to watch this one next, and comment below if you want my secret recipe for the gooey Oreo s'mores that I eat almost every night, even while leaning out.